Morning, guys and gals. Froggy here. I'm going to replace the daytime running lights on my '02 Suburban and also polish out the outside lenses, which have gotten hazy over the years. So these are the sockets that hold the bulbs. The original bulbs are incandescent and they're kind of a yellowy tint. I'm going to replace them with these LEDs, which are a white light, like more of the modern vehicles that you see. DRLs, daytime running lights, they're not meant to project light out in front of your car the way a headlight is. They're just marker lights so that, if somebody looks in their rearview mirror quickly, they can see there's a car behind them because you see these little white dots, little white bits of light. So anyway, that's what they are. And the original ones, because of the heat of the incandescent bulbs, they get yellow and brown and burnt out and crack and fall apart. These are not OEMs. OEMs are about, $30 a piece. I don't know. These are about $10 a piece. And I'm going to cross my fingers that they're good enough to last a few years. Sometimes I recommend OEM, but these are easy to get to, easy to replace, so I figured I'd save the money on these. And the LEDs are a little bit more expensive than OEM, but I think I like the nice bright white light. So let's go ahead. Right now I'm trimming these came with pre-cut insulation, all right, like that. So you just pull it off, but they kind of cut it in the wrong place so that when you put on the splicing connector, it leaves some bare wire exposed. So I'm trimming down the bare wire so that these splicing connectors will fit better. So I used some dikes to cut it, and I've got some crimping plier to crimp them on. Okay. These LED lights have a very fancy triple metal, looks like a metal extension on the top of it. I can see where they're using it to change the angle of the LED to be, whatever they decide is the correct angle. I suppose there's a reflector inside of the housing, the housing that sits in back of where this is. Like, make believe my fingers are the housing that's a reflector. But why this is so fancy, I don't know. I don't think it's a heat sink because LEDs don't give out very much heat that I know of. But if anybody who's watching this knows why they did this really elaborate triple thing, it doesn't look like it would be reflecting light because the light is going to go that way and that way. So beats me. But anyway, post it down in the comments if you know what that's for. And when you put these in, the spacing is different on those contacts there, and the spacing is different inside the socket, so make sure you line it up right. The one that has more plastic on either side of it, where my little finger is touching, that goes on the brassy side, which is to the right of your picture. Let me get the light a little bit better. And then to the left side, where my thumb is touching down there, is a little narrow contact. I think that's maybe some kind of ground, I'm not sure. But anyway, make sure that you've got the bulb, if you want to call this a bulb, making sure you have it lined up right. Now, I want to note, if you buy these exact brands, which I'm going to put the links down below, they went in pretty hard. I had to take like this against a soft surface and press down like that to make sure that the bulb, quote, went in far enough to make full contact. But it does fit, but it doesn't slip in real easy. Okay, now you're gonna take out the headlight low beams and high beams here. You're going to take that out by moving these little, they might be stiff. Mine are not stiff because I lubricated them. I did these headlights, that's on another video. But pull those pins out. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. You're going to have to kind of maneuver. Sometimes I call it wiggle it and jiggle it there. So you pop that inner side out first, and then the outer side. And you see that big protruding lump there goes down into the recess. So this one has very short wires on it, but all I need to do is get down to a release down there for the other housing below. So let me come over the other side, and I've already pulled the pins here. Okay, shove it in that way, get that edge out, shove it in that way. All right, see, this one has longer wires on it. Be very careful because those wires are not that strong. And did I bring my screwdriver? Yeah, I did. So down here, this housing down below, I'm trying to give you a good picture of this. It has a clip over there. Let me get a flashlight. I'll show it to you a little better. Okay, right there. I'm shining my light right on it. I'm wiggling my light on it. See that little clip that you press on? It's got a little edge, like a 1-inch light colored gray plastic. You're going to have to press that, and that will pop out the outer side of your lower housing. And then on the other side, it's just got two little ears that, two little tabs or ears that stick into a couple of holes. So there's nothing to release on the other side. I need 2 hands to do this. All right, now you can see it a little bit more. That's the clip that I pressed on. And those are the 2 little tabs that just fit into a little place inside of this grill, I guess. So this has short wires also. I'm going to twist each one of these to release them, and then this one too. I don't know if I twisted or what. But I'm going to take this whole thing right out, and then I can get at and replace that, which is a crusty old thing that's worn out. And this one's okay. I think it's because it's not as hot of a that's the turn signal there, and it doesn't get as hot. The daytime running lights get hotter. So I need 2 hands to twist these things and get it out. So to get these out, you have to depress that little part of it right there. Depress that and twist it. Let's see, twist it this way, I think. Yeah, one way or the other. I'm getting reversed because I'm looking in the camera. But you press that and you twist it like not even a quarter of a turn, less than a quarter of a turn, and it comes out. You see how burnt up that is? And the plastic is broken. It won't even hold a bulb anymore. This one, GM was smart enough to put a better quality socket, and this socket's okay, and I did replace the bulb on that. It's in a previous video. This bulb is still okay. It looks pretty bad, but it still lights up. So I'm going to leave that alone. And the socket looks okay. Everything looks okay. That's just a little I think it's called a marker light. It's like an amber marker light. And you can see how hazy that is. So I'm going to polish that. I'll show you how to do that. Okay. So we're going to cut those wires and splice on the new wires, which is going to give us a lot more wire, since they give us about 6 inches of wire. I just have to be careful with this cut. Let me do that now, I guess. Right now I'm holding the old one next to the new one. The new one is 2-wire, the old one is 2-wire. They do sell some that are 3-wire, and that's for dual filament bulbs. Probably could still use them if you end up buying the wrong ones, but you can get these 2-wire sockets. So if you can't get the 2-wire sockets, you see there's a blue side, a blue wire and a blue wire, and then the other one is black and pink. Don't worry about that. So blue to blue, and then the other two go together. So I'm going to try and cut these as close as I can to the socket, so I'll have some wire left to strip off there. Need 2 hands. What I decided to do, since these wires that I got to work with are so short, I took some little needle nose pliers, okay, and I just pulled the wire out of the socket. Just pulled it out, and that gave me an extra, 1/4 inch or so. So now I can strip a little bit more off of there, and I'll have enough to stick into that connector right there. Okay. So I use these wire stripper pliers to get enough bare wire there. You can see it. So I'm just going to twist that, shove it into these connectors, and crimp it. One of those butt splices did not work very well, so I'm going to replace it. Maybe it was my fault, or maybe it's just a cheap butt splice. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm glad it did, because it reminds me to tell you to tug on it a little bit. Not all your strength, but tug on it to make sure that your wire is in there and crimped tight enough. Okay? Let's try this again. A little detail that I will mention now. The copper multi-strand wires, make sure you twist them in between your fingers. Twist them so that they're stuck together. Otherwise, one loose one will block you when you try to put the connector on. Also, these are really old Radio Shack. I don't even know that company still exists. Radio Shack connectors, and they're much better than these ones that came with. I don't know if you can see inside there, if the camera will pick it up. It's split, the metal part. I think they're all split, but it's just the metal part inside the butt splice is not really working as well as these old ones. So I replaced both of them. I tugged on the other one, and it was not as tight as I wanted it to be. So now I'm going to put the socket end on there, and then we'll be ready to polish up the lens. So for the polishing, I'm using Meguiar's Plastex, and then I'm going to clean it off with a super cleaner. And before I spray the finish on there, which I'll show you later on, I'm going to clean it with alcohol, because that's a good way to get all the polish and that cleaner and everything else off of there. So I tried to figure out how to hold this thing, and I really couldn't come up with anything except put it between my knees. So I'm really going to end up kind of holding it with one hand, holding it with my left hand, and polishing with my right hand. Now, to distribute this polish onto the plastic that you're polishing, I would dab it on like this, kind of get it spread around the area before you start up the tool. Just spread it around like that. And I'm going to need 2 hands, but basically what I'm going to do is start it up like that, and move it around and polish it. But to really do the job, I'm going to need 2 hands. So I'm going to switch out here. I could polish it some more, but when I put the clear finish on there, I think that's going to help a bit. The one that's the worst is that right there. Maybe I'll hit that one more time. I'm using about 6,000 RPM on this tool. I think I got it a little bit better. I don't want to spend hours on this. A rock could get thrown up and smash it the first time I go out on the freeway. So I'm going to call it good, and I'm going to put some finish on it. I'll show you. This is the headlight coating finish that I'm using. You have to put something on there, otherwise, you know, within a year or so, the UV rays will attack that plastic and make it hazy again. So I'm laying it that way so that there won't be any runs. I'm going to shoot this down on there like that. If I had it up, if I had it this way like that, then I might get some runs in it. So I did those on the car and they came out pretty decent, but if you have to have a good touch with your spray technique. Okay, there's the one I polished, and I got one coat of finish on there next to the one that I didn't polish, so you can see it works pretty decently. Getting the lens combo to get back in there with those snaps and the slots and everything is, make sure you have the wires out of the way. If you have longer wires, make sure they're out of the way. And it's a little bit of a chore to get it to snap back in. So just make sure you're not hitting excess wire or a rubber seal or a piece of plastic or something's in the way. But it should go right back in. Final note on those new sockets, when you try to put them into the hole in the lens, the back of the lens, one side went in pretty easy, one side it went in pretty tight. I put a little tiny bit of lube on the lugs that you twist that grab into the holder. And also, I think the gasket is a little bit thicker on these ones that I bought. So you have to press in and compress that gasket, and it does not compress very easy. So I had to shove it in and twist it pretty hard, but it did go in. Okay? Here they are on. So just thought I'd show you that. It's kind of a trick to get them to come on, because it has to be daylight, or you shine a really bright light on the sensor behind the windshield, and it has to be in gear. So that's in gear. The parking brake has to be off, so it's just sitting in gear. But I've got a slope here, so it's not going anywhere. But don't try this yourself, okay? Bye.